Good morning. I'm gonna do my little garden walkthrough, and my lantana's behind me, and I think it's really pretty this year, so I'm enjoying it. So we'll walk through the garden and see what's changed. Not a lot, but a few things. So things are coming along. I've got Kajaris coming up here, and the plant. Oh, there's another one on the ground. That's how I find them, is on the ground. I'll bring that in. And it's still green and lush, and it's still producing, so that's kind of nice. And over here I've planted another round of cucumbers. So there's a couple plants there, and then I've got seeds in along next to those. So hopefully I'll end up with a bunch more cucumbers. And we'll kind of walk down this row. So these down here are some Acorn Squash, which you can see I've got some squash on the vine. That's a long, funny looking one. But here's kind of more normal ones. And another Acorn Squash. And then here's a couple of zucchini, and I don't have any fruit yet, but I've got blossoms and we'll get there. And actually on this one, I'm starting to see some fruit on this one. So I'll start having zucchini in probably a week. Still have a lot of flowers. Oh, I see my puppy dog going in there. Probably thinks there's a Kajari melon in there for him. So here are the sweet potatoes, and they've really taken off. So I've cut some cuttings for a number of neighbors, and I've got a bunch of things in the house that are in jars of water, and they're all sprouting. I've got tomatoes in there, and I've got sweet potatoes in there. And just talked to my neighbor next door, and she wants to put some sweet potatoes in, so I'm gonna probably cut her some today. So this is a Kajari over here, and it's just not doing well. So I cut all the foliage off this side. I think I'm gonna pull this out, and I think I'm gonna put some more yellow squash in here because we have plenty of time for more yellow squash. So this is a tray of seeds that we planted with one of our neighbors, and they have a 7-year-old daughter. Her name is Gemma, and Gemma actually planted all these, and they were planted on the 26th, and today's the 30th, so only 4 days ago, and they are sprouting. So that's pretty exciting, and they are putting a fall garden in, and so these are a fair amount of their fall garden vegetables. And then I also have some tomatoes and some sweet potato slips for them to plant. I'm gonna see if this chick will let me get close. Sometimes it will. It's getting a little bit better. Let's see if I can zoom in. There, get a good look at her or him. Don't know what it is, but it's kind of a pretty chicken. It's just so hard to tell because its tail feathers kind of tip down a little bit, but it doesn't walk super upright like Rocky does. But it's just, I don't know. Anyway, since it hasn't crowed, there's still hope. So we'll walk down here. Still just ridiculous amount of flowers. I need to pull some of these flowers out because they're just too much. But here's all the squashes and cantaloupes and things that I planted a few weeks ago. So this is all spaghetti squash along here, and it's, you know, it doesn't look fabulous, but it doesn't look too rough yet. Cantaloupe, which is actually looking really good. These, we're starting to harvest these little Sinhuisa peppers, and we just dry them and then turn them into a powder, and then we use them for cooking. This is pumpkin, and it's actually doing, it's looking the best of these. Well, I don't know, the cantaloupe's looking pretty good too. The pumpkin's looking good, and hopefully we'll get, you know, 3 or 4 sugar pumpkins is all we need. And these are butternut squash, and they've all come up and they're looking healthy. So I've got onions that I need to harvest, and I think I will do that today, and then I'll plant Maybe I'll plant some more squash over there. So the berry patch is kind of wild. It didn't do very good this year. We didn't even get any berries this year. And I think the biggest problem is we have these big tall things. These are goji berries, and they are just huge. So I think we're gonna pull them out because they're not producing anything, and they just are kind of out competing the other berries, which is kind of hilarious when you think about it. Some of these are blackberries, so to see something out competing blackberries is, you know, pretty unusual, at least for those of us that come from the Northwest. So the high tunnel I have been working on. I've taken a lot of tomatoes out, and I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know whether I can just prune some of these determinate tomatoes back and they'll come back for another round, or whether I really have to pull them all the way out. I don't have enough experience with determinate tomatoes. Pete grew them in Oregon, and he used to just prune them along the way, and I think he had them all summer long. But our summers are so much hotter here, so I just don't know. I think I'm going to try a little of both. So I have suckers that I've sprouted so that I have new plants. And then I think one or two of these plants, I'm just going to prune it down. Everything I've read says you can prune. You can prune it down to about 30% of its original. I mean, you still have to leave enough leaves, I think, in order for it to photosynthesize. But anyway, I'm going to give that a try and see what happens. So this is what I've done in here. I mean, I've really cut this stuff back. And, you know, I think like that, I don't think will live. Now this one I think would actually go ahead and come back because it's got quite a few leaves. But we're just down to a few fruits that I will pull off, and then I'm ready to finish this up. The banana it's so big, I don't think it's gonna fit in the greenhouse this winter. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. And the San Marzanos are producing, and we're keeping them separate, and we're gonna make some sauce with just San Marzanos. Because last year we did not separate them. We made our sauce with just a mix of everything. So we're gonna try that this year and see how that works. See if there's a really big difference in taste. There's supposed to be. So these are tomatoes that I started just a couple of months ago. So they're getting to the point where they'll start producing, and it should start cooling down here eventually, we hope. These are the ones that Pete trimmed back that were just like completely wild. And that one's definitely looks like it's coming back. This one actually is too. So we'll see. We may end up with a second round of cherry tomatoes over here. So these tomatoes are younger than the other ones. And these were done from cuttings. And these are the ones I think I'm going to try pruning. I actually think maybe I'm going to ask Pete to do the pruning because he is a better pruner than I am. I'm always so nervous that I'm going to cut fruit off, and it's not very smart. But he is, I think he's a better pruner than me. So I'm going to ask him to prune these, and we'll see if we can't keep these producing. And they've produced a fair amount so far. Seedlings that are going to go in shortly. We've got some butternut squash. I've got a whole bunch of cucumber called Pioneer, and I'll give some of them away. But I am going to plant a pretty good amount of them. I think I've got 40 plants. They're doing really good. And the paprika, I actually cut one open. They're pretty hot. I was kind of surprised. They're not red yet, so I'm waiting for them to get red, but they're a really nice size. And it's super healthy. And then I've got some more zucchini in here. And I don't know, it seems to be doing okay, not fabulous. And of course, some more tomatoes. So these are more San Marzanos, and they're actually starting to flower now, so hopefully we'll get some fruit. But what's happening to these big tomatoes in the center is the fruit is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I mean, it's starting to look completely silly. It's like you know, miniature fruit. These cucumbers on the trellis, I mean, they're on strings. They're actually doing pretty good. It's only 4 plants, so it's not producing a lot, but the cukes it produces are nice and straight. and they'll probably get, I don't know, maybe they'll get torn out in a month. As soon as they stop producing, then we'll tear them out. And this is this mortgage lifter, and so far, you know, I'm not impressed. It's not a super tasty tomato. It's not bad, but it's not like a black brandywine. So I am growing some black crims to try, and I've never grown those before, and they're supposed to be super delicious. So we'll kind of see. I got some carrots down there that probably need to be pulled. So, I mean, we're kind of at the place where we're pretty well done with the summer, and we need to start pulling more out so that I can get ready for fall and get it cleaned up in here, because it's just overgrown and kind of a mess. So that's kind of what's going on. It's things are growing. They're growing slow. It's very, very hot. We haven't had any rain, so we're having to water pretty heavily. But we're still harvesting a fair amount of food. We're still selling a fair amount of tomatoes and different things. So hope everyone is having a lovely weekend, and I love you all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.